Hey folks, Crawl Dragon here. Okay, so short version. I felt it wasn't right to let the new year go by without doing at least one more video. So originally I had recorded what I was going to do as a Relaxing with Arena video, like a 30-minute special or something, and I ended up ranting a lot. And it also turns out that I hit the screenshot button by accident instead of the record video button in DOSBox. So this video that you're seeing now is completely irrelevant to what I'm talking about, because I'm an idiot and I recorded, and I didn't record my fucking gameplay. But yeah, this is still a rant video that I wanted to do to sort of cap off the year, and sort of look back on the internet and YouTube in general. You'll see. It's a bit rambly, but I hope you like it. If you didn't, then oh well. Sorry. Hopefully more better things coming in the future. Anyway, have a good one. Enjoy the video. Hey everyone, Crawl Dragon here, and welcome back to a random arena video. I promised myself that I would have like, well, I mean, I promised myself that I would start updating more regularly, but then things happened. But I figured, you know, it wasn't right to let the decade go by without at least one more video. So we're gonna do something simple. I wanted to talk about, like, the state of YouTube and the past few years and shit like that, but like a lot of gaming YouTubers, I find it difficult to, like, just talk about random stuff, so I figured I'd do, like, an arena video. But yeah, like I said, it didn't feel right to let the year go by and, like, go through the whole New Year's thing without releasing at least one more video, you know. So here we are back with Arena. Something I've noticed that a lot of YouTubers are doing to rein in the New Year is that they're kind of going back and looking at the decade in general, because the 2010s have been pretty significant as far as internet culture is concerned. This is the first full decade that YouTube has existed, because previously they came out in, like, I think 2007? Sometime around then? I mean, I opened up my YouTube channel in 2009. I completely missed my 10-year anniversary on YouTube, which sucks, but, you know, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. I had other things that I was doing. The reason I disappeared last month, despite promising that I would have a more consistent upload schedule, is that I was looking at a career opportunity, and I still am. I'm probably still going to go through with it, but I need to get some paperwork done. There's some stuff to do with my student loans that I need to take care of. And, you know, to be perfectly honest, becoming a professional YouTuber, I think, is as much fun as doing YouTube videos is. Doing it professionally is not, I think, the thing that I really want to do. At least insofar as I don't want to, like, how do I words right now? I don't want to, like, just be a YouTuber. Like, Let's Plays are not something that I see myself doing for the rest of my life, you know? Now, that's not to say that Let's Plays are necessarily a bad thing, but they are kind of low effort. I tend to enjoy more creative pursuits. So, you know, just doing Let's Plays is even if I do continue doing YouTube, I don't think I really want to just do Let's Plays. Where was I going with this? Oh, I want to try and do, like, more long-form stuff, like video essays or maybe skits and stuff like that, but I don't really have a ton of ideas for that yet. If anything, what I really would like to be doing is, trying to get back into the video game industry. You know, get back into it, yeah, like you worked at Bethesda Softworks before. But, yeah, it's no secret that before I started doing YouTube, I really wanted to be a video game developer, and I still do. I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, the reason I bought a mechanical keyboard with such loud switches on it is that I wasn't planning on continuing to do YouTube videos. It was only after it arrived that I impulse bought this microphone and decided, no, fuck it, I want to keep doing this. But I want to do this as more of a hobby, you know? But having said that, Let's Plays are still kind of simple compared to the kind of stuff that I would like to be doing with my YouTube channel. So I'm going to be experimenting with more content when I have time, but, you know, don't expect an amazingly consistent upload schedule. I know that you don't already, because, like, I mean, it's been like a month already, but fuck. So yeah, a lot of YouTubers have been kind of looking back on the decade. It's been kind of a significant decade, not just for YouTubers, but for, like, the media in general. When I first started YouTube, the internet was still kind of a wild west. Like, I read an article saying that, like, oh, the old internet has died, and we stood and watched and did nothing. And it was talking about, like, the failure of websites like MySpace and PhotoBucket and shit like that, and Tumblr being bought out by WordPress just recently. But, like, when I think of, like, old internet, I think about web rings and personal websites dotted with hideous GIF animations. Like, you remember when websites used to have a guest book? The reason they did that is because in order to find a new website to visit, you had to get lucky a little bit. Like, when you Googled something, you didn't get a Wikipedia page necessarily. You might have ended up getting, like, a bunch of people's personal websites, and people would have guest books so that we could see, like, who was lucky enough to find some interesting, like a website that was just run by some guy. Since then, things have become a lot more corporate. You know, blogging has mostly been taken over by major platforms like Blogger and WordPress. Video hosting is basically just YouTube these days. I mean, Newgrounds is still a thing, but Newgrounds is really for... I think it's sort of become more of a gaming site than a video hosting site, because if you want a big audience for video hosting, let's face it, you go to YouTube. And PewDiePie has talked about this, how YouTube is effectively a monopoly because it's just so difficult to compete. And that's a thing that's really become more prominent in the 2010s. There's a lot more corporate investment in the internet in general. There's a lot less of the independent creators going around, which I think is actually changing with the new decade. In the 2020s, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more independent platforms coming up, because as we've discussed before, the major corporations are not making very good business decisions. A lot of them are having a lot of anti-consumer practices seeping through. And I've talked about this with YouTube, but it's more general than that. These corporations are just not doing a very good job of capturing the consumer spirit. And that might change, but like I said, in the early days, the internet was a wild west. You could find anything online if you looked hard enough. Whereas nowadays, you basically just find the stuff that the corporations want you to see. And that's no way to run the internet. I mean, for the most part, it seems to be working out okay. Most people are okay with this, with the general state of affairs. But, you know, people, it's much less freeing. It's more restrictive, because these companies have much more of a hold on the discussion, and that's caused a lack of diversity, I think. You know, we see this with the YouTube algorithm a lot, actually. Like, the reason why Let's Plays become such a big thing a while back is because the algorithm would encourage people to watch a bunch of videos in a sequence, and Let's Plays were a great way to get a sequence like that going very quickly, because you're just talking over game footage. So that's a thing. What else did I want to talk about? It's been, yeah, in terms of personal growth, this decade has also been pretty significant too. Largely because I spent a good amount of it as a minimum wage employee, chilling out in an apartment, feeling sorry for myself. And 2019, a lot of people have complained about how 2019 has been like the worst year ever, right? But honestly, it's been overall a fairly good year for me. Hi, Lizard Man. I'm not saying that it's been perfect, you know, I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression issues, like a lot of people these days, but, you know, it's been alright. I got some stuff going on with my YouTube channel now. I've got some game development projects that I'm working on the side. I'm working on my career, and I think I've found a nice vibe. You know, you gotta find some positive energy to balance out all the crap that's been going on lately, because a lot of people have like this really apocalyptic view of the world recently, especially with like the news and everybody all like, oh, Donald Trump is gonna cause a nuclear war and shit like that. It's like, no, it's the same old doom and gloom stuff that everyone's always been going through. It's just a different flavor now. I don't know, you know, life is complicated. Despite my attempts otherwise, I found myself accidentally growing up this year, this past 5 years. So this decade has represented a lot of changes to my life, because, like, now I'm getting interested in politics, and you know, I can't just be a guy who plays video games anymore. You know, Gamergate brought like all this controversy into the gaming spaces. To this day, it's hard to just speak your mind about certain things because it just generates so much controversy posting opinions online. I guess in that case I could consider myself relatively blessed that I didn't end up becoming a big YouTube star like PewDiePie and Markiplier and all those, because I can still speak my mind and be relatively safe from controversy. I mean, maybe that'll change. Maybe there'll be a big cancel Crawl Dragon party the next time I talk about Gamergate or women in video games or some stupid shit about violent video games causing all the world's problems. But that's exactly what I'm talking about, is that, like, those big controversies and the big moral panics caused by the media, a lot of people are starting to push back against that now, with more independent platforms popping up and more people just self-hosting things. That's a lot harder to do for, like, videos, because even if you don't output a ton of videos, it's still a lot to deal with, you know, the reason I chose Arena for this particular video is that it's relatively light on editing. I don't have to do a ton of work, but these Daggerfall videos take a long time, and the video files are huge. Self-hosting is not easy, is basically what I'm saying. So, I've lost my train of thought again. This game just has a way of getting into my head and making me forget what I was talking about. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a pretty good year for me. Not perfect, but pretty good. A lot of people have been wailing about what an awful year 2019 has been, but, you know, it's just a year. You know, oh, well, they tried to impeach Donald Trump, that's pretty significant. I don't know. People try to impeach the president all the time, you know? It doesn't have to be Donald Trump, it's just that Trump is a particularly annoying example. And I'm so fucking tired of people talking about him. I really hope that he doesn't get elected next year just because I'm sick of hearing his fucking name. I just want to play my video games, man. Why's everything gotta be about Trump these days? Here it comes, hashtag cancel Crawl Dragon. Whatever. Who cares? Like I said, I'm not really gonna be doing YouTube as my career anytime soon. Unless I get extremely lucky with the algorithm. What else can I talk about? I promised myself that I would do like a 30-minute video, but if I can't think of anything interesting to say, I might just cut it off here. Because, you know, I've been having a lot of fun doing these YouTube series. As much hard work as it is, I think that hard work is more rewarding than easy stuff. Which I think is something that a lot of people in the video games industry have forgotten, is that although old RPGs like this tend to involve a lot of trying to wrap your mind around complicated stuff like stats and skills and stuff like that, simplifying them has done nobody any favors, because when you figure out a complex system like an RPG, it's much more rewarding. But yeah, when you the video game industry seems to be convinced that making everything easier will make more people happier with your games, and that's how you get ratings. It does result in more people getting an initial investment in it, I think, because when it's more accessible, more people are going to get into it, right? But when you make it when you make it more complex and sophisticated, you get a lot more long-term payoff. You know, like, people are still playing Arena. People are still discovering Daggerfall. Daggerfall Unity is looking really good lately. And actually, the developers of Daggerfall have started a new studio called Once Lost Games. And they're planning on making a big project. It's still in the early planning phases. In fact, they have a Discord server where they're just letting anybody contribute ideas for how to mix up the gameplay of your typical RPG. And that couldn't have happened if the early Elder Scrolls games didn't have that long-lasting appeal. And I think that there's a very delicate balance with accessibility versus complexity, because, like I said, when a game is very accessible, you get a lot of short-term player base, but you don't get that long-term loyalty and long-term payoff unless you have a game that is very rewarding to people who get really invested in it. And I think that's why RPGs, in particular, tend to have so much longevity. Like, let's take Dungeons and Dragons. Second edition Dungeons and Dragons is still very popular. I know that 5th edition is the edition that everyone's playing right now, but for a lot of people, they're still holding on to like 3.5, the early editions of Pathfinder, and like 2nd edition AD&D, because they're much more rewarding to long-term player bases. And that might change in the future. You know, they might come out with a system that trumps all of those. But the point is, I don't have a point. I just had a moment where I realized that I was rambling about basically nothing. Where was I going with that? I don't know. I guess I'm just talking about how it feels like. It feels like because there's been more corporate investment in the internet, the Wild West days have largely ended, and there's been a lot more corporate, you know, sort of. Anyway, so because there's been more corporate investment in the internet since the noughts. Oh, I forgot to write the room. There's been a lot more cheaper entertainment coming out. You know, like I've talked about how Let's Plays tend to be a very simple way to get a bunch of videos out, and the YouTube algorithm at the time of the success of PewDiePie and Markiplier and a bunch of other people would have been it was much easier to get a bunch of videos out and to have the algorithm help you out with that, because it was simple to make and it involved a lot of and it was easy to get the algorithm to recommend a bunch of videos. Sorry, my train of thought is all over the place right now. I can't read these and think at the same time. But yes, so because of the corporate investment in the internet, you get a lot more, much simpler entertainment and a lot of simpler internet content, but a lot of it, right? And we see this with like Steam Greenlight and stuff like that. There's a lot of very small games coming out, but the big games are few and far between. And I think that with the 2020s, we're probably going to see more of a shift away from corporatism and more towards self-publishing and independent hosting. We've seen this already with and decentralization as well, because a lot of people don't like YouTube right now, but it's really hard to compete because it's such a monolithic giant. So instead, what a lot of people have been doing is they're trying to get it to where they can decentralize and have a bunch of smaller sites all linked together in something they call the Fediverse, the federated verse, I guess. And so they're trying to take out corporate interests and try to make it more about just making a good product as opposed to making a lot of a crappy product. And that's where you get you'll get more people trying to inspire that really sophisticated long-term investment, and that's sort of it sort of reflects what I want to try and do with my channel. To do I might try to do video essays. Maybe I'll do video game reviews. I used to do video game reviews on Newgrounds. I haven't done that for a while though. You know, just try and get something more complex going than just me talking over video games, because I like having a discussion, you know, and I do find a lot to talk about while I'm playing video games. Although in this particular case, it's not really working out because I'm not talking about the game, and I'm just getting distracted. But I find I want to try and get a conversation going, and you know, and try to talk about really interesting stuff, and try to work on creative pursuits. You know, like Markiplier got started out doing Let's Plays, but he branched out into comedy and sketches and doing challenges with his friends and stuff like that. And you know, he made a really interesting thing of his YouTube career. And I would like it if, when I started on YouTube, my original intention was to do video game reviews in the same vein as the Angry Video Game Nerd, RMike21, and a bunch of people who were popular on the platform at the time. When I started doing Let's Plays, I was really more focused on I was more inspired by, rather, Cloud8745, because this was before we had really good influences in terms of Let's Plays. like, you know, PewDiePie and Markiplier and the greats hadn't really been established yet. Although I believe PewDiePie was already getting started by the time I started uploading frequently. So, you know, where was I going with that? I don't know, my train of thought's all over the place. Like I said, I just thought I should try and get something out before the end of the year to let you guys know that I haven't abandoned YouTube yet. But I do have other stuff that I'm working on. And if I do continue to do YouTube, I'm probably gonna try new stuff. Because as much as I like Let's Plays, you know, there's only so long that you can just keep doing the same thing over and over again before it gets boring. Oh, and a computer update. I still don't have my computer to where I want it, because I fucking hate Ubuntu right now. I'm still gonna stick to my guns with Linux because, again, Linux looks like it might be the next big gaming system. But I'm gonna try a different Linux branch because I feel like Ubuntu is not treating me well right now. There's a lot of little subtleties about my system that aren't working properly, according to the way that I like to use computers. So I'm still trying to adjust that. Fortunately, this is still working. So, you know, video production is not that complicated, but I need a more powerful system as well because, like I said, I'm trying to get some game dev projects in the pipeline, and that's really difficult with this crappy laptop, or crap top, should I say? Ew. All right. Well, I think I've rambled far too long, and this hasn't really turned out to be the Let's Play video or the comprehensive essay about my opinion on the state of the internet that I had hoped it would be. But I'm sort of doing this at the last minute, so I don't really have much room to complain if this comes out way too rambly. Maybe I'll do a better update video later on. I'll actually write something down and script it. But again, I really wanted to try and get something out before the end of the year, the end of the decade, as well. So, you know, here's to 2019 and to the 2010s and the weird ass decade that it was. You know, and here's to growing up and trying new things and learning and adapting and overcoming and here's to politics being stupid and video games being awesome and just the endless absurdity and complexity of life. I'm going to put a link in the video now, in the video description now, to where a friend of mine a couple of years ago did this video about how he thought that there was a new 80s coming. As I've talked about, there's a new era coming in terms of culture because, like, the internet, it started out in the noughts. There was a lot of punk stuff going on. There was a lot of libertarian thoughts going on. There was a lot more talk of freedom. And then the 9/11 attacks happened, and a lot of stuff changed. And now it looks like things are going to be changing again. So the 2020s are looking to be a very different decade than the 2010s, which is a good thing. We might lose some stuff along the way, but it'll work out. But I'm going to link a video in the description of a friend of mine. He talked about how we're going into the new 80s. And it's going to be an era of reinvention and introspection and self-reflection. And of people going, the establishment doesn't represent me, and I'm going to do my own thing. Which is a spirit that I can really get behind. It's why I started doing YouTube videos in the first place, because I love how the internet has created a platform for weird stuff like a guy rambling while playing a video game to be an actual successful business venture. Albeit not without a lot of hard work and dedication. So thank you guys for watching. Sorry about how rambly this turned out to be. I really didn't plan this out very well. And I'll see you next time. Yeah, ciao YouTube.